Hello, Ben here from Supercoach Insider. Welcome to my team into round 17. Thank you for those that have been following me through this journey of this year. It's been something a little different that we've done to previous years, and it's something that will continue because it's been widely received so positively. So I really do thank you. Before we move on, SC Insider 100, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Also, all our audio platforms as well. So Spotify, Soundcloud, Stitcher, you name it, for our weekly podcast. Also up as well. Go check it out there. YouTube, like, subscribe. Please do continue that love as well. And today also brought to you, sponsored by manscaped.com. So go check out manscaped.com. Just waiting on some future ads to be round through there. So we'll get those into you for the next few weeks coming along into the next few months. So really happy with our sponsorship there. And I'll give you a shout out for those new products as well once we get those in. And also, as always, is a splashvodka.com.au. I'm really happy with those continued partnerships as well. But you'll hear more of those over the coming weeks. My week this week, 2,573. Look, it was a pretty good week. A few point of differences. Like Doherty faltered, and then Sinclair and Dawson went big. Callum Mills went small, while your Andy Brayshaw's, your Walsh's went really well. So that's kind of where I think I sort of lost out a little bit this week. And I was also playing English. He was on the Pine, so I was still playing a rookie. So for those that didn't have him, I was kind of losing out a little bit. But really happy still. I dropped 7 places. I'm now 221st. And this is, let me bring up my team. So, a little bit of a change. Thank you for, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but messaged me and just said, about the news that, let me go and undo those, that Hobbs was actually a late in, so I did see that. Thank you very much. So that was then, I was tossing and turning because I was looking at, as you would have known, before that point, I was probably looking at going Shy Bolton and trying to sort of get some points there with their easy draw. And I went back down to the point where I'm like, okay, well, Hobbs, I was hoping he's been usually pretty good at getting 70 to 80s. And I was still tossing up trying to just do the whole Bolton scenario. I was having a look, and because I've got 100,000 in the bank, so I was like, okay, well, if Hobbs plays pretty well and doesn't lose too much cash, and Taranto goes okay, then Taranto might drop me enough money that I could actually go Hobbs to Taranto in one. Now, the biggest issue with my side is bloody Heaney. Won't be doing that again. Chris just ripped it into me just a second ago on the team podcast. So it's probably not my finest hour. I think the whole Butters out scenario kind of was an issue. I should have just burnt the extra trade and just gone Bontempelli. But I'm kind of stuck a bit now because, I've got 100,000, so I can go Bontempelli up to Heaney up to a $550,000 player. I might actually have a look at that because I'm not sure what that would get me. If Bailey Smith was an option, I'd probably just do that. However, I'm stuck in this sort of halfway, so I might as well try and get myself a Loophole player and give myself some cover, and I might look at Taranto. So that's kind of what I'm tossing up at the moment. In my team, Crisp and Short, again, 2 other premiums that sort of hurt me this week, and Doherty and Hewitt. So my whole defensive line pretty much let me down. Cornelio Brody still chipping away pretty well. Dunkley, Parker, can't complain. Hobbs got a 78, so he was pretty low. I think he was like 30 going into the 4th and had an absolutely outstanding last quarter, which was really promising. Darcy's been good for a couple of weeks that I've had him, made up for the whole Bruce dilemma. So those still holding on to him. Apparently Bruce dominated the VFL, so I think he will actually get back out there and play this week. I had Mills as my VC, so as I did say, Mills, you'll know if you want to take it or not. And basically, Clary as the captain, can't go wrong, 176. So between Clary captain, having Petrarca getting a 189, and the big move I made last week was bring in Bailey Dale. Now, if I knew Hobbs was playing, I probably would have gone Dawson. That was my move for the whole week. I was going Stewart to Dawson in one trade, and that's pretty much what I was just going to live with. And I wasn't even really looking at a Loophole player at that sort of point after that. But when I needed to go Hobbs to somebody, I needed a cheaper option than Dawson. So I can't be upset. Dale is a good contributor. I'd probably prefer Dawson, but hey, I think he chips away. He does really well. I think he will get me to the finish line, and I can't be too upset. I was expecting that sort of bit of an influx with Caleb Daniel out, so Caleb Daniel still looks apparently a couple of weeks away. And even then, I think the Dogs have a pretty tough run home, so I expect the ball to be in their defensive line quite a bit. And yeah, really impressed with how Dale went for me this week. So that's about it. Now, a lot of people are tossing up between, they have 3 to 5 trades or whatever you've got left and going, oh, Patrick Cripps isn't doing well, I'm going to get rid of him. Short's not doing well, I'm going to get rid of him. Crisp isn't doing well, I want to get rid of him. But then if you get injuries, you are cooked. Like, you are so badly off. And even if, you look at Short averaging 101.9, I know he hasn't been killing it lately, but again, these averages are over a long period of time. So I expect Short to sort of bounce back at some point, and he'll probably have a couple of good games coming home, hopefully. I know it's painful, I know it sucks, and I know people, you want to get rid of them. Unless you have 6 or more trades, I'd be kind of a little bit more hesitant. Crisp as well, they're playing North this week. Crisp in that midfield, I expect him to probably bounce back for 100 this week. And Cripps as well is probably another issue. But even if, again, you've got 7 rounds left, even if you go and get someone who's averaging 110, you're burning a trade for 70 points. Now, it might seem like the best idea, but then if you have a donut at the end of the year, then you're automatically losing 100 points. So it's this real big risk-reward scenario where just because they're not doing great doesn't always mean it's the best option to flick them off. So for me, it's kind of like I don't have the trades available. I'm keeping those 3 trades for injuries. And at this point, most people or most of those players are heavily owned anyway. So everyone's kind of stuck in similar boats with someone that they're not too happy with. So I'd be saving my trades for actual injuries. So that's where you're going to be making up the points. Now, if you have a donut for 3 rounds, then you've traded to get an extra 10 points per game. And over 7 rounds, that's, again, only 70 points. And then all of a sudden you have 3 donuts. Then you're costing yourself up to 300 points. So that's where it's not really worth it. You'll be kicking yourself in the end. You might as well save it for injuries. Now, news out today as well. Aaron Hall looks like he's out for possibly just a week. So if you did bring him in last week and you were really upset, looks like it's only a 1-weeker. So you can definitely hold that. Rich and Zorko as well, hamstrings. So I reckon you could, as long as you don't have like 2 or 3 of these guys, but Ware is really good cover. Cleary could actually get a gig at some point soon. I'm surprised he wasn't named. I think they went back to, I can't even remember his name, a different defender. So I'm interested to see if he gets a gig. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Owens, I don't know when he's sort of coming back in. I think it's probably on the horizon. But for me, English is back in this week. Heaney, I'm waiting to hear the news out on Heaney. Hopefully he's okay. But now let's have a little bit of a... this is off the cuff because it's definitely not something that I was looking at doing. But let's have a look just to put my mind at ease. Who I can afford. Sort by highest price. Here we go. So, 554. Bailey Smith. I could have afforded Bailey Smith. Okay. Outside of that, there's no one really that's tempting outside of that. So, I think Bailey Smith still has 2 more games to run, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So he's still got 2 more rounds to play. So I definitely wouldn't be doing that. If I could afford Liberatore, I 100% would be doing it. That's definitely the consideration I would have looked at. So that kind of what I was looking to do and what I probably will do. Hobbs is a decent enough player, but again, as seen, if he has one bad game or whatever, he could just drop out, have a bad score of like a 20, or just get dropped, and then you're kind of stuck with no cover and not really much money. So I don't really want to be trading people for a 1-week injury. I'd rather have cover for an Aaron Hall or a Rich or a Zorko sort of incident, or a suspension like Floston, or someone gets suspended for a week, or they just get knocked out for a week or something. It's good to have cover if you can. So I know it's not the best move, but I think Taranto still has capabilities of getting 90s to 100, so I could use him as cover. I could then loophole him with Heaney and see how we go. So that way with, if Darcy has a 1 week injury like Darcy has previously, then English can go in my ruck line and then Taranto's on field covering that void. Same thing as in my forward line. If I have an injury, Taranto's sort of there now, so I can loophole with a perfectly fit and healthy team. I can loophole Taranto and Heaney now just to sort of see, if he plays first and he gets a 60, then I'm like, free roll Taranto. If I get a midfield injury, then I can do the same thing. I've got Hamilton here, so I can flick one of these players into my midfield. The way the loophole works as well, right? Say I have Heaney first as my emergency. Say Heaney absolutely fires early in the week, then I get a free roll again on Taranto. I get to then throw or if Cripps is playing early as well, then I can then put Cripps as emergency. And if he stuffs up, then all of a sudden Taranto's on field in my midfield. So having a loophole player, it's not just about loopholing the one. If you strike early, if Heaney plays early in the week like they do coming up, so they play second if he's fit and healthy, then I can loophole Heaney. If he goes really well, then I'm like, wonderful. Then I'm like, who's playing next? And then where can I try and loophole someone in the midfield and see sort of how I go, just in case they falter, on the other flip side is that I might even just loophole Taranto, so that way it might get to a point where Taranto bangs out a 120. Then I'm like, well, cool, Patrick Cripps, you can sit on the pine because I believe they play last. So that's where that loophole sort of comes in. It gives you a little bit of security, and that's why I'm not happy with my Heaney Taranto trades. Right? I'm not happy, but with 7 rounds to go, I think they can be serviceable. I think they can sort of fill some gaps for me, and hopefully I will gain more points than what I would have lost by just trading. So this would leave me with 2 trades left, and I'm basically looking for a long-term injury, so someone who's going to be out for sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, using the trade on that, and then just sort of trying to coax home. Now, defense is probably my weak point. Ware is doing extremely well, so I think I'd probably just leave him as my cover, and I get a pretty good cover for the week. So now when we have a look at captains, Chris Swizz and myself, we had a little bit of a talk. I'm probably just looking at being real simple. Neil has an extraordinarily good history against Essendon, so I'd be looking at Neil as captain, and I'm looking at Clayton Oliver as VC, which is pretty much how it will be going. It's going to be interesting because I wouldn't be surprised if Geelong put a little bit of time into Clary this week, just based on how good he's been going, based on how good he was last week. So it wouldn't surprise me there. I don't really have a late playing loophole, so just having a look, Hamilton, so GWS, Owens, they're all pretty early, even Teakle, so they're pretty early, so I don't have anyone after, except for, let me have a look, no, that's it, I don't actually have a late loophole, so for me, it's pretty much Clarion to Neil. I think that's pretty much going to be the safest bet all around. Most teams in that top 5,000. Last week had, I think it was about 3,500 out of 5,000. The top 5,000 had Clary as their VC or C. So sometimes it's best as far as safety and numbers. If he goes really well, like we saw, then most of the top 5,000 had him as C. You don't want to be the 1,500 in that top 5,000 that didn't get on him. And I think it's going to be similar this week. Safety and numbers, Clary VC, Neil C, and call it a day. And if you're missing one of those 2 players, then probably I'd look at Laird as a good option against the Hawks. I think he'll dominate through the midfield there. And I also think Sam Walsh is also a really good, safe option against West Coast as well this week. Anyway, that's it from me. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you'd like to hear from me going forward, particularly towards the end of the year. I'm looking at probably even doing a season review special where I try and talk to other YouTubers or podcasters and go through, who was the best starting option, who was one person you regretted not starting, who was your best trade-in, who was your biggest trade-in regret, and then just sort of seeing where they finished overall and what they're looking towards next year. So I think that might be a nice little series that I'd like to do and do it sort of the week between in that bye round. So after the season finishes, before finals, and might try and look at putting out some content there. Let us know what you think, and we'll catch you maybe later in the week. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.